Summer travel is no game, okay? It's no joke. Be prepared. Hey, it's your girl Rose and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 10K in the sky, fam, okay? And let's get into it. I'm going to tell y'all my horror story of non-revving. Now, this is not to discourage you. This is not to discourage you from non-revving, because clearly I've continued non-revving internationally. And when I say non-rev, that just means non-revenue. That means they're not like, you're not really paying for the ticket. This story is not to discourage you from non-revving. It is to let you know the possible outcomes of doing so, okay? Let's get into it. When I traveled to Zanzibar, if you watched my Vlogmas from yesterday, you heard me say that I'm having a big trip to Africa. That trip is also getting edited. I traveled to Zanzibar and other countries. I was supposed to just fly from Zanzibar to Doha, Qatar, and Qatar to Atlanta. And it was supposed to be very simple, okay? Just 2 legs, a few hours from Zanzibar to Qatar, 15 plus hours from Doha to Atlanta. Now, I chose this route because it was the shortest route, okay? It only had 1 stop. The others had multiple stops, and frankly, when I'm non-revving, I do not like to do a bunch of stops. I also had checked luggage with me. Now, if I had a carry-on luggage, I maybe would be okay taking a trip with more stops, but because I had a checked luggage, I really didn't want to do that. And this goes further into why I am anti-checked luggage, okay? But here we are, and here's the situation. Got to Doha, Qatar. I had a few hours sit before I had my flight from Doha to Atlanta. I am not cleared for this flight yet. I still only have just a standby ticket. Even when I left Zanzibar, they told me, you're cleared for this flight, you might not make it on the next one. They told me straight up before I even left Zanzibar. When I got to the gate area for the Atlanta flight, they told me they're not allowing any more employees on. The flight is full. And that was that. That was it. There's no bargaining. There's no negotiating. They said what they said. So here I am in Doha at 8 something in the morning. Luckily, I had multiple more days off before I had to get back to work or just be back in Atlanta in general. I did have an event that I had to be at, which is why I needed to get home at a certain time. Otherwise, I maybe would have hung out in Doha for a little bit, but I didn't have that option. I actually go to the desk first, and I was like, are you sure? Because y'all, I'm in the middle of Doha. It just told I can't get on this flight to go home. So I go to this, I was like, hey, are you sure they're not letting any more employees on? She was like, yes. And she was like, why are you traveling right now? Like, don't you know summer travel is hectic? I was like, are you flying on someone else's benefits? I was like, no, they're mine. I chose to do this to myself, okay? Summer travel is no game, okay? It's no joke. Be prepared. For whatever reason, I'm not able to change my flight in the system. This is also another warning to always travel with emergency money, okay? Please, because what I did end up doing, I am actually on another friend's benefits. I knew that I could get on her benefits from Frankfurt, Germany. So what I ended up doing was buying like a $500 flight from Doha to Frankfurt on the same day, and it had a stop in Bahrain. Y'all, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I had never even heard of Bahrain until I had to book this flight. I had never even heard of the airline I flew on until I booked this flight. I buy this flight. Mind y'all, my flight to Atlanta is supposed to be at like 8, 9 something in the morning. My flight to Bahrain now isn't until 11 something at night. Mind you, I had left the day before, so now I'm gonna be traveling for like 3 or 4 days straight, and I checked a bag, remember? So now all I have is my duffel and my book bag. This is also another warning. Bring changes of clothes, bring changes of shoes, bring everything that's most important to you in your carry-on, even if you check a bag. Please have multiple underwear, a bathing suit just in case, because I always have a bathing suit with me, don't care. A change of clothes, and change of shoes, your cosmetic bag, electronics that are most important to you, all your chargers, okay, all of them. Make sure you have those in your carry-on, please, for the love of God. I had multiple changes of clothes with me. I had everything I needed to have. And honestly, I wasn't worried about my check bag at this point, but I was like, worst case scenario, if I never see this check bag again, I'm still good. And that's what I cared about. Please remember this. Remember this, that I'm thinking about this before I need to worry about it. So because I'm switching airlines from Qatar to this other airline and I checked a bag, now I'm like, well, what's gonna happen to my bag? So they're like, oh, we'll take care of it, but we can't take care of it until like 3 hours before the flight. So in the meantime, I did work. I took a slight nap and I eventually went over to my gate. My flight was actually a little bit delayed. So few people on this flight that I was actually the only woman on this flight. And so I was going from Doha, Qatar to Bahrain. The flight is so short, y'all. I didn't even realize how short this flight was until I was about to get on the plane. That actually the flight attendants did service before we even took off. Like they did little waters and their little snacks before we even took off because that's how short the flight was. We were able to get my luggage transferred, but it wasn't really the simplest thing. When I first went to the counter, Qatar Airways basically handles everything at the Qatar airport. There's very few other airlines that operate out of that airport. And so when I went to the other little help desk, they were like, at first they honestly weren't that helpful, and then they finally were like, okay, we're gonna look into it. And at first they're like, they can't find my bag. Again, this is why I'd be like, y'all should stop checking bags. But anyways, they eventually found it. When I went to the gate, they had a ticket. They had like the sticker when you check your bag. They had that for me, and they had my ticket to get on the plane. So I was like, okay, cool. Y'all got it. Y'all tagged it. Cool, right? Get on the plane, sit in Bahrain. My layover in Bahrain is very short, not even 2 hours. I get to Frankfurt. Mind you, this is like a whole next day. This is now day 3 of traveling straight. I have now entered 2 extra countries that I was not planning on and bought a $500 flight at this point. Almost everybody's luggage is delayed. I don't know what happened from my plane, but all of us are waiting around, waiting for our luggage. The luggage finally comes out probably like an hour later. Most people have like grabbed their luggage and left, but me and a few other people are still just like looking around because our luggage still hasn't come out. So I asked one of the people that works there. They're like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't work for the airlines directly. I go over to the little help desk. The same person actually ends up helping me who said, I don't know, I don't work for the airline. But anyways, we basically just had to file a lost luggage report because that's all they could do in the middle of Frankfurt, Germany. So I was able to do one more wardrobe change out of what was in my carry-on. The fact that I never cried, had a breakdown, a meltdown during all of this really goes to show that like I'm really too used to this, because it was probably the most hectic travel experience I have ever had. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, and the fact that I didn't record it while I was going through it, I'm so upset because the story doesn't do it justice. It was crazy for me to try to figure out all of this in real time immediately, calmly. I'm not someone that gets stressed about travel, but that's probably the most stressed I've been in a very long time about how to get a route home. It was a lot. I won't lie to you. That's why I'm like, this is my non-revving horror story. I finally finished the report. She made sure that I got the email. I said yes, and then I just went about my way because I still had one more flight to take. Actually 2, because I was gonna fly from Frankfurt, Germany to IAD to finally make it back to the States, but then I needed to go home to Atlanta. So then I was gonna have to fly from IAD, which is Washington Dulles, for those that don't know airport codes, it's okay, to Atlanta. This turned into 6 flights over 3 days into 2 extra countries, for a total of about 60 hours of travel just to get home. And it was supposed to take like still 20 hours to probably get home. So an additional 40 hours to get home basically. Yeah. Anywho, I finally get to IAD, get on the last flight into Atlanta, get on a flight the next day actually, because I told you I had an event to go to, and that event was in a different city. The mayhem really didn't stop, I'm not gonna hold y'all. And then I got an email, actually, maybe the next day, that my luggage had gotten picked up and it was going to be dropped off at my door. And honestly, within 48 hours of my luggage being lost in a whole nother country, my luggage was delivered to my door. And that is why I'm not upset at the airline, because for them to get my luggage to me at my door, okay, from another country, I can respect that. It's starting to rain. I'm actually on my group trip in St. Lucia. If y'all can hear it in the background, I'm sorry, but I'm about to wrap this up. That is the end of my non-rev horror story. It's not what y'all asked for, but I feel like it was worth it. I know I'm here to help y'all out, so help me out please, and like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 10K. If you have any questions about anything, travel, flight attendant life, group trips, anything at all, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Until tomorrow, bye Sky fam.